Hey, this is Camille with Sober Sessions. We're here with Sean Skolnick, our Langhorne Slim. Welcome to the set. How are you?
I'm good, Camille. It's nice to be here.
Glad to have you here. So, the name Langhorne Slim. Can you tell me about the origin of the name?
It's not terribly exciting, but I'll tell you because you asked. I'm from a small town outside of Philadelphia called Langhorne. Mm-hmm. And when I was a teenager, I was thirsty for a band, but there wasn't really that many people in my town to play with. And I started getting into like old blues music and soul music. And they all had these cool names. Hip hop music, they all had these cool names. And in old blues music, a lot of these guys and gals would take names from the town that they were from. And so Langhorne, which was a town that I struggled with in my youth, it felt empowering to use the name in my for my music and as a solo artist at the time, because like I said, I didn't have a band to rock with. So sort of inspired by old soul guys and women and old blues stuff. And then it stuck. Then I thought maybe I should get rid of it a couple of 2-3 times. But it just is here with us.
We're still Langhorne. So
We're still Langhorne.
What was it like growing up in Langhorne, Pennsylvania?
Well, not sure how different it would have been in any other small town, and because this is recovery based and all of that, I hear this story so much in the meetings that I go to. It felt often like I was a boy out of place, out of step. Public school was a disaster. I got kicked out of kindergarten allegedly, or nursery school, or one of those things for biting, and continued to bite in other ways all the way through, and just had a difficult time kind of finding comfort within myself and in a small town. Not to say it was all bad, but I was very excited to get out of there when I was 18 and I moved to New York. And when I got finally asked to leave my public school, which was very kind of them to do because that place was no good for me or for them with me in there, I wound up going to this little kind of alternative high school in New Hope called Soulbury School. And there, a lot of the things that I would get sent to the principal for, get in trouble for, they were like, "You're a creative dude. You're just a strange guy, but you're a nice guy." And they had a lot more space for me to dance and to sort of try. And even in my middle age now, it's like never to lose the wild, but to refine the wild within, and to not let it get in my way or get me in too much trouble. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah. So I think growing up in that town, in many ways, I just didn't like being little, because there's so many rules and there's so many feelings, and I just longed to get older and kind of find my own way.
Was there a point in your life where the wild was a little bit less refined and you did find yourself getting into trouble?
I wouldn't be sitting here with you if not.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, a lot. Thankfully, never in, what is too much trouble? It could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse. But my exploration with substances definitely got me in trouble just within myself and my relationships, and then some run-ins with police and institutions and things like that. Not people in places that I necessarily want to spend too much time around under those circumstances. And I think for me, I was born with whatever this thing is. I think I was exhibiting those behaviors before I ever turned on any kind of substances. But as soon as I did, I just remember feeling like, and we hear this story so often, right? It's like, this is the magic stuff for me. This is what is easing my my noisy, fucking busy mind, and sort of softening and lubricating my heart and my soul. And so I knew from a very young age that booze in particular at that time was going to play a big part of my life. And I knew it right away and hoped that I could control it and that it wouldn't control me. And that goes, as we know how it goes, you know. Mm.
Crazy, maybe we are sometimes, but they always say so many things. Living ain't easy, it can be hard to do, but you believe in me, and I believe in you. We let the birds fly, we let the bees sting. To live a dream, it can be hard to do, but without a dream, you can't have a dream come true. All right. I was never good at listening in school, and I was never good at following the rules. I wait for the bell to ring, go home and play my guitar. Dance in the basement all by myself, and I know my mother thought that I needed help, but I told my mom I'm gonna be a big star. To live a dream, it can be hard to do, but without a dream you can't have a dream come true. Without a dream, you can't have a dream come true. dream come true.
So things progressed for you. Started out maybe with booze, but
things
found that thing. And
I mean, for me, like a lot of kids, I think, at least at that time, it started with weed. But weed, for a neurotic, anxious boy, it didn't calm my ass down. It exacerbated my neuroses and my anxiety, to my dismay and my displeasure. But as a true addict, I still smoked as much of it as I could. It changed how I felt. And I would have moments where I liked it. And then, like, before my mom got home from work and the house was quiet, I could smoke some weed and go and play guitar and just be like, improvise. I was just sort of like learning the instrument. And so that felt good. But as soon as there was anything that created any anxiety, I became very self-effacing, and just everything kind of hurt even more. But I still noticed, like, if a kid was like, be at a party or something and be like, yeah, I got this bag of weed a week ago, like, that would blow my mind. As it still blows my mind when my now wife will buy a drink and leave half of it on the table. I'm just like, I don't understand. What's even the point? It seems crazy. So from an early age, even with substances that didn't necessarily treat what ailed me, so to speak, in retrospect, I could easily see that I wanted more as soon as I had even a taste, even if it didn't comfort me,
Right. Just more of whatever's around that'll get me out of me and change the way I feel.
Yes.
100%. So at what point in your timeline did things maybe take a darker turn, and, like, did you realize that a change was necessary?
I had many bottoms before I had a significant enough bottom to make any change. There's a little spider.
A little spider.
It got in the way of relationships. I come from a family that there's addiction in it, and my mother grew up around it, and she was very, very against drugs and alcohol, like, in the house. I think she had a lot of heartbreak and fear around it for her children. And so there are, like, one time she found I had like a little graphics plexi, like, plastic gravity, I don't even know what you call it, like, not a gravity bong, like a little, like, whatever the fuck you call it. And she found it under my bed because I was never good at getting away with shit. And I remember that she was it's terrible. She was so upset and angry and sad and scared, and thought that it was a crack pipe. And I was like, and she's like, no son of mine's gonna smoke crack at my house. And I was like, Mom, it's not crack, it's weed. And then she had to call a neighbor and, make sure that this wasn't a crack pipe. But so I hurt my mom a lot with it. And then when I just, in school and in relationships with my girlfriends, it caused a lot of issues. And I started playing shows and touring at a pretty early age. And so when you do that, it wasn't what some people think that it is, at least for me, where it's just like people are throwing gobs of drugs at you and stuff. That wasn't my experience. But before you get paid any money, they're definitely like, it's an open bar, or here's your 15 drink tickets, or here's your bottle of this or that. And so I took that for as much as I possibly could. And just lots of close calls, but it still felt like it was working for me more or less, even when shit would sort of hit the fan. And then I think when I turned, it was in my early 30s when I got sober the first time, and I felt like, I would do this dance too, where, like, I would go for my yearly checkup at the doctor, and he'd be like, your liver enzymes are way up. So I would cut it down. Mm-hmm. And then I would go back however many months later and be like, all right, they've neutralized. It'd be like, fucking great. Mm-hmm. I could start to feel physically like my body was hurting in ways that it was very clear to me that was from the amount of booze that I was consuming and other things. And then I could feel it in my body, I could feel it in my energy, I could feel it in my spirit. Like it eventually, and when it hit, it happened pretty quick, where I just kind of felt like all the parts of me were diminishing, if not dying. And that was very scary. And none of it was working in the way, it wasn't bringing me any more euphoria. It wasn't even bringing me any more relief. It was sort of just bringing me heaviness and pain. And I had to dance with that for a while, as one does. Some people dance with that longer than others. But it's just that vicious cycle of, I feel like shit because of the things that I'm putting in my body. So now I need to put more of that thing in my body to feel okay again, and then feeling like shit again. So you're just constantly stuck on this wheel of doom and terror. And eventually at 33, I was like, all right, we ended a tour. It was my birthday. And I was like, done. So right up the road here, I was renting a room in a house, and I kind of locked myself in that room. Didn't know that that was a dangerous thing to do, and just detoxed myself and was able to stop drinking and stop doing drugs for a number of years. But as we were talking about before the camera was on, I didn't do any program stuff at that time. Didn't do any outside help, which is like therapy and connect with other sober people. And after 2 or 3 years of just being a dry, sober person, the woman that I fancied didn't fancy me as much. We were also talking about how the other addictions come out.
Yeah.
I think of it as like octopus tentacles, where it's like just because something hasn't been active doesn't mean it's dead. And so when I was drinking and taking drugs, so much of my energy was going into that and music that was kind of the focus there. When I dropped drinking and drugs without any other help, it just went into chasing everything else out there. And I needed that to fill my feeling of who I am, who I was, my self-esteem. But I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. It sounds almost, wouldn't say humorous, wouldn't say embarrassing, but almost both of those things at this point, looking back. But I was like, but I slayed the beast. I'm not drinking and I'm not doing drugs. Like, why doesn't that girl want to hang out with me more? Why isn't this new record doing this or that? Why don't I feel all this stuff? Because I was still looking out so much. And so eventually I relapsed, had a doctor tell me exactly what I wanted to know, which is, you have an anxiety disorder. I said, abso-fucking-lutely do. And he gave, and I don't blame him. I mean, I was playing him as well, but gave me a list of medications. I said, I'll take that one, which was Xanax. He's like, all right, we're going to do this, and we'll do this. And the other one that doesn't make you feel anything, I quickly threw away, and the Xanax I kept. And, I never took anything as prescribed, never drank anything like a normal person.
Right.
And so I got hooked on benzos pretty quick, and that thrust me into just a gnarly relapse. Yeah. I can't remember what the question was, if I'm answering it or not, or I'm just blabbering. But
yeah, we're just riffing. So what? You said like that thing that you're someone that you identify as like having that thing, that ism, like since before ever picking up a substance.
Yes.
What has been the solution to that for you?
Well, when I got back to Nashville right before the pandemic, I'll try to make this concise. I've got one of my best friends in the world who up until that point only knew me as a sober person. I was out in LA, renting a room out there. Shit was only getting worse and worse. So I called him, and he didn't know anything about the relapse or whatever. And we do a lot of stuff together. He takes a lot of pictures with me and video of songs and stuff like that, and we have a good time. So I said, you want to take a road trip? I'm going to move back to Nashville, come to LA, we'll drive back, we'll do a bunch of stuff together, blah, blah, blah. So the trip was so fucking bad because I was trying to wean myself off of all these pills and other things. And I thought I could manipulate him and the situation. It hurts to say it, but I thought that I could fool him, which I couldn't at all. And so throughout the trip, I saw him progressively just getting like more This is a friend that I'd never seen get angry with me before, and he was just getting like angry. He was oftentimes looked sad, oftentimes looked confused, and by the end of the trip, I didn't even know, but he had found I'd like dropped pills and various things on the car carpet.
Yeah.
So finally, when we got back to Nashville, we talked about it a little bit. I drove him to our airport B&A, and he looked back at me, and he looked at me like he didn't know the person that he was looking at. And that was one of the most profound bottoms, if not the most profound bottom, is I didn't feel like I was looking out at the world in a way that I recognized. Like I couldn't look people in the eye, and I like to look people in the eye. I love to connect with motherfuckers. Yeah. And I felt I could put on the hat, I could put on my shoes, I could put on my guitar, but I couldn't put on the whatever that divine thing is that we have, that spirit within us, and that profound grace that we have to connect to one another and to ourselves. That was fucking very clearly missing. And to have him, someone who I consider a brother to this day, look back at me just like look sad and kind of disgusted, and like he was looking at a stranger who was just, I don't know how to put it, kind of broke my heart open to being like, I gotta fucking do something about this right now. So as I was driving back dangerously, I was Googling rehabs, and a few days later I was at this place, Cumberland Heights, here outside of Nashville. Again, I forget the question that you asked.
It's good. So I know like one thing about substances, like whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, is like it'll numb the things that we want it to numb, but we can't select like the feelings, we can't select the emotions that aren't there anymore. And as a songwriter, like it's important, you know, as an artist, it's important to connect with that spark. Did you find that your artistry, that your songwriting like suffered?
No.
No.
But that was my main fear. And that was a part of my relapse story too, was songs weren't showing up as quickly as I wanted when I wanted them. And then I went back in my head and I was like, oh, if I just had some of this and some of that, curate the vibe, then I'll be able to write songs. I will say, and the bitch of it is, but the truth of it is that at times booze and drugs definitely help my creativity. But it was never sustainable. And it was never, the whole year of my relapse, I didn't write but maybe one or two songs. It was like my biggest drought that I'd ever had. And it was definitely because of the particular substances that I was taking, which is pretty odd that I was looking so much for something to help me feel, and yet I was doing these things that were completely diminishing and putting out the fire of whatever the natural thing is that makes me feel. So many years ago, my best friend in the world's got like almost 30 years sober, and of all places, we were at the YMCA in a steam room where all great things happen. And he and I were talking, and I was like, man, I just want to be done with this, but I just want to find a wizard or a doctor to like sprinkle some magic dust on me, or maybe I'll become a Buddhist. And it's funny because I've heard a lot of other people say that since I've been sober, as if that doesn't take a ton of devotion and work, like that's an easy thing. I just wanted some other way outside of a program, and what sounded to me like this is going to be assignments, and this is going to mean I'm going to have to be a team player, and I had fear and probably trauma around all of those concepts. And he very poignantly said, you are a very strange man, and you are a very creative man, and you will always be strange and creative. So if you're worried about any of your strangeness or creativity leaving because you're not consuming copious amounts of drugs and alcohol, like you're just fooling yourself. And why don't you just, like, I understand that fear, but why don't you give it a shot and see what happens? And some of my favorite songs that I've written have absolutely been when I'm clean and sober. I find the spirits, whatever that is, the calling, the inspiration is more readily available, or comes around more often. And now I'm sober, and now I've got small children in the house, and so it just feels like there's a lot more that comes from these like focused periods, and we'll see if we talk in like a week or a year, but I'm okay with what I at times perceive as like the lulls, because I think that they are the natural things that happen, like the seasons. You can't, at least I can't always be creating and writing songs that I love, but trying to trust, which is a lot of what my recovery is like, don't hold on to everything so tight, because when I do and try to control things, I don't get the results that I want.
Right.
So yeah, writing, performing, living as a sober person, I feel a lot more just connected.
Amazing.
And that's an amazing gift, because if I didn't, I think if I wasn't getting some of the results that were sort of promised to me or suggested, just try this and see if you get any better results, I mean, I don't know that I would, try so hard to stick with it.
Yeah. Sounds like it's been a successful experiment for you.
Even when it isn't. And I don't mean as far as like relapsing. Thankfully, in the last almost 7 years, I have not relapsed and don't plan to. I think what it is, yeah, it is successful, though I often still want more or want something outside of myself. And I wonder if I won't always. And maybe that's part of being human too, is like we were talking about before the cameras were rolling too. I am one of these people that absolutely wake up with my head shoved firmly up my ass, and I need to pull it out and look around, and I'm like, oh yeah, it looks so much nicer out here. It smells nicer. Everything is nicer. But it's easy for me to get like ultra focused on self, if I'm being really honest, on self. And it's not, you're so great. It's what I'm craving or longing for. It's this trick maybe of the disease, or maybe of being human, that when I get there, or when I get that, then I'll feel more whole. And I believe, at least intellectually, that we're already there. But sometimes my whole system forgets that, and music is what brings me into that, connecting with others, meditation, though I've been slacking, my meetings, talking to other people that fucking get it. I mean, that's been such, like, I came to the program to help me stay away from booze and drugs. I'd done all the experimenting that I could possibly do with it. And I have stayed because of like the spiritual life that I feel through it, and the expansiveness. Like now with kids, I'm learning that there's a whole adventure at home. I always feared any sort of stillness, so it allows me that. If I was still hooked on drugs and alcohol or this thing or that thing, and that's controlling everything in my life and I'm a slave to it, I don't get to even play around with the idea of how present can I be. And that already, even as a sober person, can be challenging because my mind is loud,
God give me the strength today. I offer myself to thee. From this bondage, set me free. Help me see the nature of my wrongs. In your grace I will be strong. This old world is full of fear and greed. Love, it is the door and faith's the key. From this bondage set me free, and I offer myself to thee. God, with you I can be whole if I surrender my control. Though I still want to run the show, well, I'm trying to let go. Oh, this old world's full of fear and greed. Love, it is the door and faith's the key. Nothing is deserved, no guarantee. And I offer myself to thee. For my friends who suffer, for my mother, father, and brother, for a world down on its knees, I pray for thee. For the restless and the wild, for the broken, tamed, defiled, for all of us who crave more than we need, I pray for thee. And I offer myself to thee.
Sounds good. Yeah, we're so excited. It'll be kind of like a homecoming in a way, playing Philadelphia. Have you ever played at Franklin Music Hall before?
I don't think the last time. I think that's a newer spot. I don't know how long it's been there, but do you know?
It was the Electric Factory.
Oh, so I have played the Electric Factory. Yeah. So yes and no.
Yes. Okay. Well, we're so stoked to have you come out and play for
So
Sober
stoked
Sessions Philadelphia.
To come out with you guys and
Yeah.
to make a return to Philly. It's been too long.
Yep.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
That's it.
Yeah, go Birds.
Yeah. Just be like, sobriety's been good to me. Go Birds.